Xarelto continues to kill patients, while the FDA continues to ignore it. See the story at drugsafetynews.com.
The head of the DEA recently said that medical marijuana is a complete joke, but the people who depend on medical marijuana aren't laughing. The truth is that medical marijuana has been a miracle drug to hundreds of thousands of critically ill Americans, and I have Joel Stanley, the CEO of CW Botanicals, with me now to tell us the good news about medical marijuana. Joel, I've heard you talk about with Mike Papantonio on other programs the fact that the DEA chief says medical marijuana is a joke. They then had to walk those statements back because he realized that was a horrible thing to say, especially when you have hundreds of thousands, if not possibly up to 1 million people in this country who depend on medical marijuana. So I just want to get your take. I mean, what was kind of the reaction when he came out and made these statements?
I think aside from offending those hundreds of thousands of Americans who use medical marijuana, those statements just fly in the face of science. We have 19,000, nearly 20,000 peer-reviewed published papers in medical journals that tell us otherwise. Medical marijuana is anything but a joke. We see it literally save lives here in Colorado and all across the nation, to be honest, Farron.
And so we do have, thousands of scientific documents, studies being done that show, look, this is helpful. It's not hurting these people who are taking it. It is helping them live their life. So why is the fight so difficult to get this legalized in so many states? I mean, are we just still stuck in this mindset that this is the worst drug imaginable? I mean, is that part of the issue, or what's the holdup, I guess?
Well, I think that DEA Chief Rosenberg's comments reflect what we've seen for years, just this blindfolded fear, stigma, propaganda, just blanketed prohibition approach that flies in the face of science, flies in the face of compassion, and we're not approaching this topic with any type of real information or education, and we haven't for years. And so we need to get rid of those fears and stigmas and this approach that it's just bad, that it's evil, and start to look at the actual data.
And one thing that's interesting right now is that we finally have, on the Democratic side, presidential candidates who have said, you know what, we need to consider this. We also have plenty of people in the House and Senate who have said, look, we have to, at the very least, if not go ahead and legalize it, then we need to do some government-funded studies to find out, what the benefits are. We know what the benefits are, but they want it on a federal level so they can present it. And in saying that, they've talked about the fact that there have been no federally funded government studies to find out the benefits of medical marijuana. Every government study has been looking for negative side effects, completely disregarding anything positive, so it doesn't get published. So we also have, from the federal level, kind of this stifling of the research. I mean, wouldn't you say?
Yes, the prohibition started in 1937. It was further solidified by the Controlled Substance Act in 1971. And what that didn't just prohibit use from the individual, that prohibited some of our best minds from researching this last nearly a century. We've been prohibited from actually researching this very beneficial plant. That's what's happened, and that's kind of where we're stuck at the federal level.
And so we have in Colorado, we have both medical marijuana and recreational legalized. How has that benefited not only the patients, but just the state in general there?
Well, there was this general attitude from the prohibitionists, this Chicken Little, sky is falling, and none of that really happened. What's happened is that the CDC actually says that we have lower teen use after legalizing marijuana, lower teen use, lower than the national average as well. Colorado State Department of Transportation says that our traffic fatalities have gone down. Our tax revenues are actually through the roof. So marijuana tax revenues alone within the first year of legalization nearly doubled that of alcohol. We took 8 million of that, put it into just drug abuse education just in our schools. $8 million. So we benefited economically. City of Denver, actually, where I'm at right now, said that violent crime and property crime both went down after legalization. So I live here, I raise my kids here, and I think we've made the right decision. And time is proving that. And it's time for the federal government to take note, look at these statistics, and start to handle this topic with the right information and stop handling it with this fear.
We have yearly in the United States about 88,000 people die every single year from alcohol consumption, overconsumption. 106,000 die from taking pharmaceutical drugs as directed, not necessarily an overdose, not necessarily side effect per se. 106,000 taking pharmaceutical drugs as directed, 88,000 alcohol. How many people a year die as a result of just the consumption of marijuana?
Zero.
I think that zero is one of the most important numbers, and that to me is one of the biggest selling points as to why states need to stop dragging their feet. The government has got to stop dragging their feet. We know the benefits. We know that there are dozens of diseases that this medicine, medical marijuana, Charlotte's Web in particular, works to treat. It's time to pull our heads out of the past. We've got to get this thing legalized everywhere. Joel Stanley, phenomenal work that you do. We appreciate you joining us today. We will check back in with you. I am hoping this becomes a campaign issue for 2016, so let's make it one.
Thank you very much, Farron.